Phil Spencer has commented on delaying Redfall and Starfield. Both were initially supposed to be out like now. I think it was actually the 11th, I believe is what it was. Starfield was supposed to release. So like in some other timeline, we at this point would have had Starfield for almost a week in another universe, which is a little crazy just to think about. But, you know, it makes me really appreciate this. Like I mentioned this before, when I unboxed the God of War Collector's Edition, that thing was packaged in December of 2021. And I, of course, just got it. So, like, it's crazy to think that they've had, like, the collector's items and the game discs and everything sitting in a box in a warehouse somewhere for, like, a year. It's crazy. It's crazy. But these games just keep getting delayed over and over and over and over again. I'll be real. I weirdly enough, after playing Star Citizen, I'm like a lot less pumped for Starfield. I was never like pumped for Starfield, but I am far less interested. I think it's because like after trying Starfield or Star Citizen, everything Starfield wants to do, Starfield or Star Citizen, I swear to God, oh my God, is already doing markedly better. And yeah, it's buggy and it's got a couple things, but like the dynamic universe, yeah, they don't have 1,000 planets to explore. But are you really going to try to tell me with a straight face that Starfield's 1,000 planets is going to be anywhere near as impressive as anything else they've designed? Like, probably not. It's all going to be vast and empty. Not that that's inherently bad, but I just don't think it's going to be what people expect. You know, buckle up, fanboys, because I think there's going to be a little bit of disappointment with Starfield. I'm calling it now. 1,000 planets sounds like a chore. You're not wrong. It's just like, okay, there's going to be like an iron planet, and there's going to be a gold planet, and then there's going to be a gaseous planet, and then there's like, they're going to have all of these archetypes where you go and you mine stuff, and that's it. And like, that's not necessarily a bad thing. But if you're buying the game because you think it's a space simulator with 1,000 planets, it's like Star Citizen has what, like 7 or 8 planets in the persistent universe that they have now. And it's like so much, it's a little, like it's a lot to handle already. So 1,000 is ridiculous. You know, as Star Citizen could do 1,000, but I don't think anybody really wants 1,000. And I think that's what they've realized is like, eventually, like, yeah, you can open it up to that amount, but it's really hard to maintain any sort of quality. Old shitty game engine. Yeah, it's a reworked version, Jay, with
16 times the detail.
So it's the same thing. But it's been upgraded. And to be clear, like I actually saw a TikTok on this just this morning. The guy who, I forget his name, I'm sorry, but the guy who is directing Callisto Protocol, he did like a talk where people asked him about the game engine that they're using. And he said, like, of course, you can't just build a game engine nowadays. You have to go and build something up. It can take like 3-4 years to develop a game engine. And for the quality standard that people expect now, realistically, you have to start with something that already exists and then alter it and try to improve it. It's like, that's why a lot of companies are going to the Unreal Engine and then they're editing the Unreal Engine to keep it up. Yeah, Wired interview. Exactly, Gavin. Gavin knows exactly what I'm talking about. It was a really fascinating interview. I really recommend it. But like, you go to UE and then you can tweak Unreal Engine to do what you want it to do. It's going to take a lot of work, but you can do that. And that's a lot easier than trying to build an engine up from scratch. So when people say like, oh, like, you know, BGS should just get a new engine, build a new engine, it's not actually that easy. It's extremely expensive. And even then, if you start work in 2022, it's not going to be done till 2026. So whatever features you outlined you wanting, by 2026, those features might be outdated. Whereas if you have an engine that exists, it's a lot easier to keep that engine up to date with modern standards if it's being engineered by a dedicated team and that's all they do. And that's what Unreal Engine tries to do and what a lot of other companies have tried to do with their proprietary engines, like Frostbite and those companies, like within EA and Activision with their proprietary engines. They keep those specifically calibrated and they just roll them forward with dedicated teams. But even like huge companies like CD Projekt Red, a lot of those companies are even moving away from proprietary tech and they're moving towards these all-in-one engines like Unreal Engine in the case of CD Projekt, which can be altered as they need. They can work with the team over at Epic Games, and they can work on stuff to make it function the way that they want to. So all of that to say, it's a really long way of just saying it's not as simple as just getting a new engine. I know we all would like it to just happen, but it's not that easy. And at this point, I think one of the things that's a holdover for BGS, and Todd has talked about this in a couple of interviews in the last 6 months, one of the reasons they feel that they are able to make Starfield and The Elder Scrolls 6 is specifically because they have the tool set that they're all familiar with, and they can just quickly put the games together the way that they want to put them together. They know how to do it. It's quick to work in. It's easy. My understanding is that Unreal Engine is also very, very easy to work with, but who cares? So all of that to say, we're going to see. But if Starfield has notable tech issues and it's maybe outdated graphically and in terms of gunplay, and it also has bugs, I think the uproar is going to be so loud that Phil Spencer probably comes in and says, listen, guys, we're vetoing this. You've got to swap to Unreal because it's just not working anymore. It worked in 2008. Maybe 2011 it worked well, but it's not doing it. And Kunal, I agree. I think there's no reason to believe that this game will be any different. It's like in the collab I had with Mr. Matty Plays where we talked about it. I basically just said I see no reason to be convinced that this time will be different. And that's my biggest problem with Bethesda, is that everything they've done so far is just reaffirming the idea that it's more of the same, right? Like everything I see is like, okay, it's going to be Starfield, basically Fallout with a new coat of paint, or like Skyrim with a new coat of paint. A coat of paint that's very buggy and glitchy,